Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SimSpeed TV here on a Monday night as we return for the second round of the Ozicar Tin Top Cup in its 9th season as we continue this Asia-Pacific adventure to the Fuji International Speedway just outside of the little town of Oyama in Shizuoka Prefecture in Japan. Here for this second week of racing on Ozicar. Returning once again, it's myself, Daniel Yeaman, on the commentary, and I'm joined tonight by Dean Hunt, joining me from way out west. And Dean, good to have you here for tonight. Peter Wilkinson, actually, who helped join me for the commentary 2 weeks ago for the season, about out racing tonight on track, so hopefully see how he goes out there. But Dean, quickly looking at the circuit here at Fuji tonight, it is a world famous circuit to be sure at this place, and one of the bigs of course being here, we've got low powered cars and a very long straightaway to have a look at here.
Oh, definitely. Nestled in the hills of the aptly named Fuji Mountains. Yeah, great track for racing, and especially these low-powered cars, like you said. Huge, long straightaway. So the draft game's going to be huge there, and I hope that the admins have got the bop correct. Massive run from the final corner all the way down to turn 1. Got to really set up that exit on the way out of Panasonic Corner and into Daiichi is turn 1. And then following through the whole track is very flowy and technical, especially the final sector between 13 and the final corner. Very tough to get a good sort of lap going through there, really. But yeah, really about setting up that exit out of 16.
Yeah, it sure will be indeed. We'll keep an eye on it throughout this race, of course, with a fairly lengthy race to keep our eyes on as well. Noting here tonight, we are running the no chicane layout, so we are skipping past an option to take an extra corner and extra potential overtaking chance in towards turn 10, which then snakes back to 11 and 12. We bypass that straight to turn, well, what is 13 there on that map. A quick look at a recap on how the racing went, and also a couple of bonus points were issued at the first race of the season at Okayama 2 weeks ago. It was John Merritt who won the race and wrapped himself up maximum bonus points with pole, fast lap in the race, and no incident points as well. So maximum score for him coming out of that opening round 2 weeks back. Tony Baker there just in behind on 99 points in the second. And then how's this team? We've got a tie for 3rd, a tie for 6th, a tie for 8th, a tie for 10th. Now that is all down mostly to the fact that drivers were picking up bonus points along the way, but also the point scheme here is very tightly knit. 1 point per position is how the scores level out here in Ozicar. So as a result, just about anyone's still in this game, and I believe there will also be a drop round to play later on in the game as well. So keep an eye out for that. But qualifying just ended, Dean, so we'll be looking at how the racing situation is tonight in terms of format and such. As you mentioned, BOP, balance of performance, is in effect here tonight. We have 2% power reduction on both the Renault Clio and Toyota GR86. The Mazda MX-5 Cup is sitting unaffected at this stage. And the other big thing to note there, Dean, you can switch cars anytime during the season, so you don't have to stick with what you started off in this season. They had 1 lap in qualifying to have a crack at things here tonight. It's a 25-minute or 50-lap race that we're about to get into here this evening. And speaking of which, here's the grid. Dean, I'll let you take us through the front of the field.
Daniel Boswell, Frog Leeches Racing's taken out pole in his 86 with Brody Shepherd from Vermilion Motorsports behind him, 2/10ths gap there. Cam Edwards taking out P3 in the 86, and Tony Baker P4 and also in the 86. 86 is looking quite dominant already. Cruz McVie in P5 with his MX5, with his 86 and an MX5 following him. Sean Doyle, Trevor Hearn taking out 7 and 8 on the grid. Some decent gaps in the quali time here tonight. I'm assuming that's probably from the lone qualifying with no draft. Elliot D and Warren Henry taking out P9 and P10 for the rounding out the top 10. Ira Philberg and Nathan Verney for 11th and 12th. First clear we've seen there. Benjamin Wheeler and Brendan Nealon. John Merritt all the way at the back there, not setting a lap. Timothy Harris next to him as well, his teammate. Michael Cullen and Gab Barber, 17th and 18th. Craig Tilson, Trevor Mortimer, 19th and 20th. Dan Stevens and Peter Wilkinson down at 21st and 22nd, and John Snell rounding out the grid for P23. Quite a few drivers not getting a lap down, and here we go. We're off and racing already. You said they'd be away quick, Dan, and here they go on the run down to turn one. It's a pretty long one, especially in these low-powered cars. You can see the MX-5 there sneaking his way down into the front of the pack in front of those 86s. That's Jamie Stovall taking down the inside line there and trying to get through Tony Baker all the way down in turn one. What a great run that was from him, all the way from P6, and it looks like he might be in fight for the lead already.
Here we go now, the run towards turn 3 as we get past the little kink that counts as 2 here, and Stovall indeed to the front of the field as they make their way through the opening turn there, and then head on around towards this long sweeping turn 4, but he's going to be harried by Tony Baker here through the opening sector. Also note here, drivers, of course, we've got a mix of tyre strategies in play, and in fact I'm going to throw it up here on our timing tower as well, because note the track there's got a little bit of water spray, and Stovall struggling there through the turn 5. You can see it. Baker, Brodie Shepherd, Boswell and Trevor Hearn all trying to get past him here. And I'll tell you why, folks. You've got a split on tyre compound calls there as we'll bring it up on screen. Baker and Shepherd on the wet tyre here to try and make deal with the bit of water spray. But there you go. Stovall, Boswell and Hearn in behind, all on slicks here. It's the first time into turn 10. This right-hand kink, not the usual chicane complex here. So this is going to be one to watch out for here tonight. Dean will bring up the weather as well on the bottom of the screen. You can see that it says to us that it's currently cold and such. But right now, actually, pardon me, we don't have any wetness available on that one there. What I will do is grab our weather radar that we can pull up here on this screen to have a look at things. Because, yeah, it was raining in practice and still a little damp in qualifying. But as I can show you here on the radar, it is all clear skies. Track is stated as very lightly wet, but no rain due to come for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's a tough one picking tyres at the start, especially with the CPS, but it's such a long race. You've really stuck with the choice you made for a while, I think, with the CPS requirements. You only have to take 2 tyres, so looks like the guys on wets are an advantage at the moment, but of course they'll probably need to switch to dries eventually, so if they can build a gap that'll cover those 2 extra tyres, that'll be beneficial for them. Here comes Daniel Boswell looking up the inside, Brodie Shepherd and Tony Baker, if you don't mind, going for the double overtake into turn 1. We talked about the draft that he was going to get all the way down from the final corner at Panasonic there, and Daniel Boswell is into the lead on the dry tyres, so showing that it's not necessarily a game changer, wets and dries, because we haven't seen really anyone dropping back on the slicks. He did drop back at the start, but seems to have taken that first place back. So he's in the lead. We're on board with Tony Baker at the moment, looking back at the entry of Brodie Shepherd in the Vermilion Esports 86, but look at Daniel Boswell. He was down to 5th, and then from 1st back down to 5th, and then back up to 1st, all in the space of a lap and a half.
Apologies there also, folks. I just noticed we had a bit of an issue with audio for the in-game feed, but that should now be corrected. So hopefully got that all sorted there for you to enjoy the sounds of the cars racing past, along with our tones as well. Now, I think, Dean, you've just received your first compliment of the night in broadcast chat there, so at least that's what I'm going to go with. I don't think it's for me anyways. I would be, I think, a little rude to assume so. Anyways, it's further on back in the field here. Cam Edwards, one of our next drivers on slick tyres, now trying to fend off Sean Doyle there in the Vermilion Motorsports 86 on wets, though. And so it'll be fascinating to see here in the next couple of laps, Dean. Like, track is stated lightly wet. This is usually the point where you can cross over to slicks if it had been raining for some time onwards. But we'll be curious to see here how things work out for the drivers. Having started standing start, cold tyres, will the wets be able to hang on, or will they fade here quickly? And drivers will need to make their compulsory stop nice and early. They've got until the end of lap 23 to get that compulsory stop done here tonight. So keep that in mind. They can come in any time up until that point to take their 2 tyre change.
As the Hoodoo Guru said, come any time. And Cam Edwards at the moment, like you said, starting on the dries. So I think the dry tyre guys have got a lot more options because it seems they've got everything under control. We're not seeing them sliding around and everything like that. We were seeing Trevor Hearn there getting past Tony Baker, who is on the wets, and Jamie Stovall looking to line up Tony Baker as well, with Brodie Shepherd not too far behind them as well. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of the guys on the wets not really having much advantage. I think, the long straights here are really about the draft. You can maybe keep in touch. Here he comes on the outside.
It's Tony Baker in behind. We're on.
That's Tony Baker. That's right, yeah. So Tony Baker, apologies, being on the wet. So you can see that he's got the advantage through the bends, but then it's sort of nullified on the straights, I think. So give it a few more laps and we might start seeing some of these wet guys thinking about pitting. But for now, Boswell's built that 1.8 second gap, which Trevor Hearn is out of the draft. A little slide there from Tony Baker, so maybe not as much grip as he thought he had coming through where the chicane is cut out. But let's have a look and see how the cars behave. We're on board with a wet tyre, and then in front of him is a dry tyre in the same car, so you kind of see the difference in lines that they're taking. Slight difference, but see, look at that. He's still off losing a little bit of control, maybe pushing a little bit too hard, thinking he's got more of an advantage on the wets. But it's a tough one at the moment out there. I think it's really tough conditions when it's going wet to dry. It's a really hard decision to make which tyres are going to be on. Here comes JV Stovold. He's got a great exit out of Panasonic corner. And then we're seeing one of the Vermilion Esports entries. I think that's Tony Baker coming into the pits now. That was Brodie Shepherd, I think.
Yeah, Brodie Shepherd tumbles down the order. Into the pit lane he goes. Now, do remember, of course, we said Toyota 86 and the Renault Clios, of which there are not many Clios here tonight. They've been apparently a bit of a rare pick. I can see one of them lies here in the hands of Ira Feldberg, a series organiser for Ozicar. And in fact, I think he might just be about it. Let's quickly switch out the tyre compound for the manufacturer logos. That's actually down there. Let's keep that one. Pardon me, I'll get the right one up for us here, folks. Because Open Series, you can run whichever car you want. And in fact, based on that, down to 20th place, and I think we can go all the way down. Our last couple of cars are just outside, including Gavin Barber here, who's unfortunately a lap down after a very lengthy stop. I think he might have gone wets to dries, and so he's had to take a longer than ideal pit stop. Speaking of stops, here's Brodie Shepherd still on wet tyres. Will he be on to slicks here in a second? As he's still up on the jacks, past 30 seconds. So I think these are drivers here who started wets early and they're now feeling a bit of the pain here, Dean.
Yeah, might be getting a bit too much heat in the tyres. We saw him getting a little bit squirrely in the rear, but
there you go,
that's the other part. Yeah, he's on the dries now, so would be very puzzled if he came back out on wets. But you talk about the car difference, and it looks like we've got mostly GR86s, a couple MXIs, and obviously the lone Clio in Ira Feldberg. But that's the difference between the cars as well. If I'm not mistaken, the Clio's a front-wheel drive, whereas the other two are rear-wheel drive, which I find the rear-wheel drive's a bit easier to control in the wet, especially considering most other cars on the service are rear-wheel drive. And that's Timothy Harris taking a little trip out of the track limits, perhaps having a little spin on his own there. And that's another one of our wet tyre racers. Might be looking at having a pit stop.
Let's have a look at it here on the Ozicar.net replay. It was in this battle pack of 5 cars here. So you've got, I think, Sean Doyle in behind perhaps. Sean Doyle behind and maybe a little tagged out. Go one more time on a replay here and try and catch that on board with Doyle. It did look like a bit of a brush there because up in behind Nathan Verney, I believe it was there in the locked on lads MX5. And yeah, I'm just going to have to say that angle there looks like a bit of a misjudgment from Sean, unfortunately tagging the rear of Tim Harris. Thankfully, around he goes in clean air, is able to rejoin, just a loss of time he has to worry about there at the end of the day.
Yeah, apologies, I did say he went around by himself, but I think I meant he was out off the circuit by himself. Yeah, definitely got help there, and the stewards will be having a look at that. But, he's back on the circuit now, albeit lost, I think, 1 or 2 places there. But here comes Sean Doyle looking up the inside Nathan Verney. Hopefully he can stay out of the back of Nathan. Verney's gone off as well, so I wonder if there's another bit of contact maybe. Hopefully not, but it wasn't as bad as the previous incident.
I think he's just run a little wide there, if I'm going to describe that incident there. Yeah, a lot of marbles offline and wet tyres as well. Might just go back one more time with feeling and see if we can get a better look at it. So up in behind number 67 of Warren Henry. And just, yeah, doors open. Sean, doors open.
No
maybe one last look at that from onboard Doyle here once again. No, space was
just
left, space was taken,
yeah.
and yeah, in the marbles, good call.
Yeah, the marbles, especially now with the new update on iRacing with the debris system, the marbles are a lot more dangerous than what they used to be. We just had the 24 hours of Daytona over the weekend, and a few of my teammates were warning each other to make sure you don't get on the marbles, especially the GTPs were really struggling there. But yeah, it seems to be no matter how quick the car is, the marbles are pretty dangerous. We're on board here with Elliot D looking to get past Timothy Harris. Looks like the MX-5s might have a little, maybe small advantage in a straight line I'm seeing so far, but I could be wrong. But Elliot just slowly making his way past. It seems to be nullified now that he's out of the draft, and that's Harris on the inside, so he'll be looking to outbrake on the way, and he's a little bit squirrely, but he gets it done. A little bit slidey off the racing line there. It might be a bit more wet, and like we said, not so many marbles on the entry to a corner, but yeah, just a bit more wet. But he's coming right back maybe. No, just slots in behind, does Elliot D, so that one's put to bed for now. Wonder if we're going to see some more pit stops coming soon, because having a look at the gaps down the order, Daniel Boswell out in the lead quite comfortably at the moment. He's 3.6 seconds in front of Trevor Hearn, 3.7 now, and they both started on the dries from memory. Jamie Stovald, the lone MX-5, who took a massive jump off the start back down to P3, so not very tight up the front there, but it's where the mid-pack, the battle for 12th at the moment. Dan Stevens in his MFR GR86 with Cruz McVeigh and Craig Tilson behind as well. As you can see, a lovely little zoom feed there. We love to see the drivers, and he's got the sequential shifter going as well, so really going for the authenticity with the 86.
Yeah, if there's one thing I think I've gotten to know about Dan Stevens, the way he sets up his rig when he's driving, yeah, authenticity is certainly part of the key market there. So works his way up into this back part of the circuit. McVie almost into the rear gear of the car there, but able to get just a little bit away in time. And then up to this final corner here at Panasonic. And indeed, see here, who gets the best run? Tilson perhaps in the background there. Dan's teammate get a good drive. I think he took the apex too early in the last turn as they round out onto the start-finish stretch. And it looks to me so that's going to be fairly line astern for now. Further on back, a bit more action I see is McVie. I think McVie to the pit lane, but in further behind we've got the second pack as well here of Ira Felberg, 15th on back, getting a little exciting as well here.
Yeah, the lone Clio leading the pack of 86s behind him. I wonder if we'll see any bump drafting coming up soon as well, because might start seeing a few of the guys working together, especially the teammates. It's such a long straight. You can really gain a lot of ground by bump drafting. No teammates in this pack, as I believe, but a few of the other ones we've seen some teammates line astern, and especially if you're towards that 6th or so back. You definitely want to be trying to work together, not fighting each other too hard, to try and get some of that time back and get back up towards the leaders. As we see a little slide there from Ira, that patented front-wheel drive sliding, as getting around the outside is Michael Cullen. Great move around the outside from him, taking advantage of the mistake from Feldberg, and he's under attack from the cars behind as well. Trevor Mortimer looking up the inside as well at 100R, I think that is. And Sean, apologies, not Sean Doyle, that's not reset the right way, but just disappearing there for a sec to Feldberg. Got the car behind as well, looking to capitalise. He's gone from bad to worse for Feldberg. He's looking up the inside now to come back down at Mortimer. Can't get it done. He's having some connection issues as well, which will be scaring the drivers around him. Not really what you want to see. But Peter Wilkinson behind as well, trying to capitalise on that mistake, but couldn't quite get it done. Mortimer and Cullen go through, and they'll be able to get on with their race.
There's been another issue for Sean Doyle in some degree here. Let's have a quick look and see, spot it, or is it just going to be the case he's come into the pit lane? So perhaps, no, it's on pit exit I think here, so eyes on with the Vermilion Motorsports car. Another driver who I believe has done a wet to dry tyre compound change. Yep, he did indeed, and that stop switch to the dry compound from the wets. Has he looped it here on the exit of T1? Waiting for it. Okay, maybe not. May have just gone just slow enough that triggered the alert there for me. Brendan Nealon, is that the same potentially for you? Yep, coming out of the pits. I get the feeling a couple of alerts here that a bit of a false flag, so pardon me for bringing those up. Although noting here, Brendan Nealon has come in, done a pit stop, and has stayed on wet tyres, and I get the feeling that's not the right call today, Dean.
That might be a mistake from him, I think. Perhaps as well, something to consider. I think we mentioned it at the top end of the race, but the guys that start on the dries, if they're going obviously dry to dry, which you would assume they are going to have shorter pit stops as well than the guys going wet to dry. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe all 4 tyres are done at the same time in these cars. So you're going to have a little slide there. John Merritt with his teammate Tony Baker right on his tail. We talked about bump drafting. Might see some action here with that. But those wets really not holding up now, and I think we're going to see pretty much the whole field coming in to change them to the dries. But yeah, like I said, longer pit stops going wet to dry because you've got to change all 4. The CPS compulsory pit stop states you only need to take 2 new tyres. So we'll see Merritt, Baker, Henry, D, Stevens, Tilson, Cullen, Mortimer and Feldberg all have longer stops, and it looks like most of those guys are going to come in right now. And we saw them get really squirrely. Nope. Tony Baker decides I'm not going to follow my teammate in there and go one more lap, try for an overcut. But yeah, big strategy play there. I'm not sure, are there safety cars in series, Dan?
There is not, because drivers will get things reviewed post-race if need be. So yeah, end of the day, unfortunately, if you have something go wrong, there's no way back into it in one of these races here tonight. There's trouble for Elliot D, who's actually just returned back to the pit lane automatically. Let's have a quick look and see what's happened there for one of our MX-5s here, unfortunately, tonight. So the answer is apparently a crash, although... don't tell me something's gone wrong. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
I have not seen that for a while in the MX-5.
Give me a second here, folks. We'll just go back a little while here with Elliot. Oh, we've just lost him there. See if we can find an angle. Ah, yes, of course. Let's fix something here. And then, let's see if we can quickly...
Look at the RPMs and the gear.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a misshift.
He's downshifted.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Well, that'll do it, unfortunately.
Well, it can't be, he won't be using a H pattern because iRacing won't let you use a H pattern in the MX-5. So he's obviously just pressed the wrong paddle or pushed his sequential shifter the wrong way. That's not ideal. I do believe they get one fast repair.
They do indeed.
So he'll be able to get back out, and but he'll be miles behind with no safety cars or anything. Might be a long night for him. Checking back in with our leader, Daniel Boswell. Showing he's got the pace tonight. Started off on the right tyre. Just got a new drive with a new team, Frog Leap Juiced Racing. I've heard their guys are really great there. He settled in quite nicely to the new team and showing that he's made the signing worth it, really. Trevor Hearn behind him, 3.5 seconds. He's kept that gap quite consistent in the Casserole GR80 sticks. He's done the fastest lap of the race, so maybe he's been saving his tyres a bit better than what Boswell has, and might be able to put on some pace a little bit longer in the stint. And Stovall behind them, that really rounds out the top 3, who's probably anywhere near taking out the victory tonight, as we see Tony Baker 12 seconds off the lead on the wet tyres, so he'll need a longer pit stop, as I said. But currently that 77 Juiced Racing machine doing quite well out in the lead.
You brought up there, obviously, the fact that, Trevor Hearn snatching the fastest lap of the race. Let's have a look at that last lap. If this will work nicely. Will indeed. Excellent. So we can see there, actually, fairly even apart from Sector 1. So it would appear there, either a whisper of benefit, which 4 seconds back, it won't be a whisper of benefit. It should just be a case of just getting a better run through Turn 1 or later on the brakes or something. Because don't forget, obviously, as well, Boswell is effectively the guide into the unknown here, although obviously as the track dries up, it's a little bit more of a favourable unknown in that respect. But it does mean Boswell's the driver out front who gets to show everyone you can brake at least this deep without making an error, and everyone behind gets to learn, okay, well maybe I can go a tiny bit deeper than him, levels of thought. So there's a bit of all of that to keep in mind. Let's have a look here at the last 3 laps overall, and you can see here, well, it's only been a recent development that Trevor Hearn started to find some time. Let's have a look here at this next lap, which will update for us in a moment as they all cross the line on the end of lap number 10. 155.9 is an improvement for Boswell. Does Hearn match? He does not.
So big differences there, Dan, and 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths, and 5.5 tenths is quite a big difference. Obviously, it's not the fastest lap in the world, is a 155.9 in terms of what sort of pace we see other cars do around here. But when you look at the GR86, the MX-5, and the Clio all together in that production car class sort of thing, they're really momentum-based cars, and you could really come unstuck by one small mistake. It's not like, in a GT3, the traction control kicks in, you might lose a couple tenths, but you're back onto it. If you make a mistake in these sorts of cars, it's really hard to gather it up, even with the TC. Really hard to gather it up and not lose so much time, because there's so much momentum involved with such a low horsepower compared to some of the other cars we see racing. It's really a different beast when it comes to how you manoeuvre a circuit. And the whole sector 2, really, I think, of this lap is very momentum based, especially that final corner. You get a poor exit out of the final corner with no draft, you're going to lose quite a lot of time as well. So a few little spots where you can really hurt yourself if you're not consistent. But the guys out front, it's showing. Look at that, Trevor Hearn now at a 3.8, so still around the same gap, but they seem to be taking time out of each other and then putting it back. Big John Merritt all the way down in 15th now has done the fastest lap with a 55.033, and that's John Merritt right on cue, making a move on Benjamin Wheeler and lining up Sean Doyle as well, who's back on the circuit after his first pit stop. I think John Merritt started on the wets as well, so he's gone to the dries and found some pace. He's right under the rear wing of Sean Doyle. He's got his teammate in front. It's a Pulse Echuca Toyota sandwich, but he's gone wide. That's Peter Wilkinson's just gone off.
Actually, no, it's one of our cars out of position. Brendan Nealon, I think it is.
Oh, apologies. Yep.
Yeah, well, just to make down. Well, I thought it might have been. I was trying to get a lock on who exactly indeed we were looking at, and then unfortunately I grabbed Peter in that battle box for a moment there, which was not quite part of the plan. And as a result, yes, it maybe gave off a false impression. That was who we were looking at there. As for a moment there, Merritt thinks about the inside into this turn 10 sweep of it, decides better of it, and Doyle will hang on to this 13th place for now. As these 4 drivers now, Doyle, Merritt, Harris, and Wheeler. Obviously, you've got John and Tim there, both here from Pulse Echuca Toyota. Benjamin Wheeler in the background in the Powered by Coffee entry. Looks close to what Tim's got there with the creamy beige colourway going on there, but not the same, just in case there was any confusion.
Quite similar, the creamy coloured cars. Could do it with a cup of coffee right now. It'd have to be an ice latte. It's 43 degrees where I am at the moment. But John Merritt, here we go. Can he line up Sean Doyle as we come down the main straight? He had the draft. He's pulled out to the right-hand side. Needs to stay close enough to still get the side draft, but look at the run he's got on him. Really great run there from Merritt. Can he get on the brakes early enough, but late enough to get the move done? He moves across under braking, which is a risky manoeuvre, and gets through. And Sean Doyle as well. Tim Harris getting through on Sean Doyle to take out both Pulse Echuca Toyota cars into the top 13, pardon me. Merritt in 12th, Harrison 13th. Great move from both of them, but Sean Doyle got a bit unstuck there, being on the outside, but he's not going out without a fight. He's staying right on the back of Harris's 86, so it's not over yet for these 3 guys. I think we'll see them stick together for a while yet.
Shocked with, as you said, the ability of drivers to be able to draft off each other here at the circuit, to fall too much out of line. But at the same time, confidence through the corners here tonight, and how much you're willing to push, and also those drivers here, most of them have taken a pit stop, so they will be on at least 2 fresh dry tyres, or this paddle back they will be at least 2 fresh dry tyres, and maybe it's 2. I don't think it's not in here. John Merritt, a very, very short pit stop, and I actually want to bring this up because mention now everyone else has done at least 2 tyre changes. I can tell you from that there, John owes us a stop because something didn't go right there. I actually just want to go back and have a look at his pit stop based on that.
They need to take fuel, I'm assuming, to get to the end, or is there no cap?
They do
for fuel.
They do have a maximum. They have no fuel cap involved tonight, so there is a possibility that they will be able to. I think they'll be able to get through it without any fuss and do it on a full tank of fuel. I'm just a little worried in that case. John Merritt, 8-second stop. There's no way he changed 2 tyres in a car like this, which, as you said, changes. I believe it is indeed 1 tyre at a time. So he might be owing us an extra pit stop down the lane, because otherwise he'd be looking at springing back, I'm sure, right towards the front of the field.
But did he start on the wets?
Well, that's the thing.
Can't remember now.
Unfortunately, I've blanked. My information says he's currently on a dry tyre. I believe that's exactly what he is on right now. Although it's also saying to me
Merritt started on wets. Yeah, I've just gone back and had a look. So he's definitely started on wets. So there's something fishy about that pit stop, I think.
Okay, well that's a good comment, because he's an example of Brody Shepherd who has changed from wets to dries, and it's a 37-second stop to do his full tyre change. So yeah, there's also the possibility something happened there with the data, and it's all kinds of out of whack. Is Daniel Boswell 2 to lane from the lead of the race, and up on the jacks he goes. Now remember, he was on dry tyres, and he therefore only needs to take 2.
Yeah, and look at the stop time already. It's already up to 12 seconds. So, you know, there's definitely something either with the timing or John Merritt's pit stop that's gone awry. I would say that there's something going on with the timing then, because he's on dries. There's no way that his pit stop was that short. Unless there's some sort of special crew that he's got, that dude from the Cars movie. Maybe. But
the power of Guido.
Guido, that's the one.
Rip off the fastest pit stop I've ever seen. Unfortunately, I don't think we've got those advantages available to us here tonight within the iRacing platform. Let's have a look here. Does Tim Harris go for the move, or will he go for the push, the bump draft here? The answer appears to be the bump draft, and with a clean lap, he sets the new fastest lap of the race, dipping into the 154s, I believe, for the first time as well to boot.
Yeah, great lap there. Working together as a team to use the bump draft, keep the pace up. And Sean Doyle just behind them still, hasn't really lost any ground. Meanwhile, our former leader of the race, Daniel Boswell's dropped back down to 7th, but obviously he's just made his pit stop, so that's a net. He's still in the net lead of the race once guys in front of him make their stop. Granted that he keeps things clean, but currently not really coming out in any traffic, which is one thing you've got to be careful of when you're up the front of a race and the pit stop time is so long. And see, he's now 50 seconds behind Trevor Hearn, who was 2nd place. So Trevor Hearn, if he pits now, he's probably going to come out behind, obviously going to come out behind Boswell. He's not going to come out behind Brody Shepherd, which is handy for him. So he'll still be in the 2nd place of the race. But you've really got to be careful when you pit from the lead that you don't get stuck in traffic. We've seen quite a lot of pace differential here. You obviously would get the benefit of the draft, but if you're getting held up in the middle sectors and have to make an overtake, you're going to lose time, and that's time that Trevor Hearn will gain back on you once he makes his pit stop and potentially open up for the overcut. As we're going on board here with that is Sean Doyle in the draft of Tim Harris and John Merritt. Faking the pit stop, perhaps a little bit of wiping action going on, getting a little bit of spray off his. He looks like he's working with the Ozicar Toyota boys in front. Little bump draft there, not deciding not to go for the overtake. So maybe he's thinking the long term, just pushing the guys in front of him along. Let's try and work together and catch up to the guys in front. great plan, I think, because Brodie Shepherd, quite a ways up the road. They've got a lot of work to do in the next 10 laps to make a dent in that time gap.
Yeah, the field has spread quite substantially. In fact, there is these 3 drivers here. They've then just got in behind Peter Wilkinson, who's come yet to stop, I should say, pardon me. So that's why he sits out amongst everyone. In fact, if I bring this back up, so he's got Ben Wheeler in behind in the Powered by Coffee 86. But yeah, there's these two, those drivers, and then a little further on back we've got Warren Henry, and it's Craig Tilson in behind. Walsh is there. It's just decided not to show up, Craig. But the Middle Finger Racing Toyota 86 in behind is racing in this fight. Whilst we've got Warren on screen, Dean, just actually do need to actually make a note there. We received a message there this evening from Ira, who obviously part of running Ozicar, and Warren here racing under the Ozicar branding. Just wanted to make a note, just to make a small dedication of tonight's race, or dedication of tonight's race actually to Warren's wife, Julie, who unfortunately passed away after 34 years with Warren. So our commiserations and condolences to Warren and his family for their loss. Hopefully, the news apparently that Julie was at least somewhat at peace, passing away last Friday. Hopefully, this grieving period is over. They can begin to heal together and celebrate her life and all the good things that came from it.
Yeah, condolences to the family. Real tough one to get through, and great way to help take your mind off it for a while is jump in the sim and have a race, which is probably exactly what I'd be doing as well. So yeah, thoughts and prayers go out to the Henry family, and yeah, hope Warren's doing all right.
What I might even do here, Dean, is might just let you let us shut up for a moment here, and we'll just spend a lap with Warren. Oh no, possible issue there for oh, he returns to us. If it hangs on, I think it says jump on board here with Warren for a lap around Fuji National Speedway, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes time based on the way they're lapping along. There's a lap at the Fuji National Speedway on board with Warren Henry as he just gets passed momentarily by Craig Tilson, but Tilson a little deep is going to allow Warren to sneak back up the inside there on the exit of turn 1 and through a little kink there of turn 2. So check that one off once again rather nicely there, Dean, and we look to see now as we're coming into the last, indeed now 7 laps to go, and we should be on, or right on the money of making it on laps. We should do so. As I'll quickly flick over here to time. No, pardon me, 16 minutes remaining. It was 8 to go, I believe, at the line last time. But yep, just going to make it so laps have been year perfectly calculated by Ira for this race tonight. Now, noting at the front of the field, we've got a couple of guys here who still owe us a pit stop in this race. Jamie Stovall, leader of those yet to pit. Cameron Edwards in second place also hasn't stopped. Dan Stevens here in fourth place, yet to pit, in addition to Peter Wilkinson. So a couple of guys here who owe us one. And also note for Dan Stevens, still on wet tyres. Track status has been updated to now be classified as dry. So ignore the little bit of water spray. As far as iRacing is concerned, we're back to dry weather racing here in Fuji.
Yeah, he's really making those tyres work for him. I'm quite impressed that he hasn't had to box yet. Same as Tony Baker, been on the wets all night so far. They'll be battling the overheating as well as battling the cars in front. So Trevor Hearn has made his stop, so this isn't really a battle for position. So Hearn's got to do his best to start in front and not be under threat from Stevens behind, because really it's not his fight. Trevor Hearn really in second place at the moment, once Stovall and Edwards. Hang on. What's happened to Daniel Boswell? He seems to have dropped back because Trevor Hearn was our net second place. Now he seems to be our net first place. Have we seen some issues for Daniel Boswell? Because he's dropped back behind.
No, I don't think we
Trevor
have,
Hearn.
Dean. I'll show you what I've got for data, and I think it's a little telling here. There is Trevor Hearn's stop. We just need to also bring up Mr. Boswell's comparison here on the bottom. That there, I do believe, will explain how we've ended up with Hearn in front.
Interesting. I wonder how they've fueled the cars. Perhaps Boswell's started with a bit less fuel to try and pull away a little bit at the start and taking a little bit of fuel at his stop. But that seems to have really hurt him. That's a big difference. 6 seconds is the difference there in terms of pit box. Lane, though, as well. What do we got there? 8 seconds. Oh, almost 9 seconds. Of difference between the two, so perhaps Boswell didn't have the greatest pit exit as well, which has really hurt him between those two at the moment. So Hearn is our current leader, and Boswell 4.5 seconds behind. So the pit stop has hurt him quite a bit, but he's been putting some good laps in to nullify that gap. But really, he's lost that spot to Jamie Stovall as well. So he has made his pit stop, and he'll be happy with that gifted P2, and Trevor Hearn will probably be stoked with his gifted P1, and Daniel Boswell's definitely going to be disappointed in that. Still a few laps to go. He's not too far off Jamie Stovall, so if he can work that draft with Dan Stevens before he pits, that'll help him a little bit, nullifying the gap. But as that draft goes, it's going to be a tough, tall order for him to get back to that P2 and gather up a bit more of a result.
Yeah, do you have a bit of lap traffic here in Dan? So Dan's into lap traffic. He needs to come and pit before the end of lap 23. So he's out of this fight, unfortunately for him. Gavin Barber here is our first car a lap down at this stage as well. Gav's our other driver here on Zoom side, so we might even jump on board real quick with Gav and show you how it's looking for the number 25. Although that's heading towards the pit lane, is it? Gav, you've done a stop in this race already. No, just following the last skerrick of draft from teammate Dan Stevens. So that's what that was there. Here's the view from Gavin Barber's shot there. As we see, not much of him visible thanks to the large seat ears that his rig's got. But,
Motion.
and there's a bit of seat movement there too. Yeah, we should see here under brakes. There it is.
Awesome. Don't see a lot of motion rigs on the Zoom feeds. Very pricey, but I've heard they're a lot of fun. So it's like Gaz enjoying himself, albeit down in P20. He's feeling the bumps and the curves of the G-forces and everything. So every time he gets in the sim, he'll just be enjoying that motion, I feel like.
Stevens already on the roll, hasn't changed tyres. This man's wants to make every little part of his position count. So he's in 11th place, which is a gain of 10 spots. So if the wet tyres do not completely self-immolate here on what is now classified a dry circuit, He's going to struggle, I think, to get past Cruz McVee here, who's been running around for 13 laps on his current set of slicks. But yeah, the race on Ozicar, although there you go, JTIT on the front, BE Electrical on the side. Take my pick as to which of the sponsors Race on Oz have got should be on the team name there. They always know, they know where to find me, I guess, so tell me I got it wrong next 2 weeks. But it's getting close for the lead, I should note. Whilst we've been looking further down the pack, Jamie Stovall's got a fresh wind here in the MX-5. Let's see, what can he do? Getting past Trevor Hearn, potentially.
Yeah, here he comes. He's got the run on Trevor Hearn. It's a very long straight. Trevor Hearn's made a mistake of leaving the slightest MX-5 size gap between him and the wall, and Stovall's gone straight through. He's got the pass done. The draft is going to come back for Trevor Hearn. I don't think it's enough, though. Trevor Hearn weaving down the inside. Can he get it pulled up in time for the race lead? No, he can't. He's gone a little bit wide, and Stovall's come right back at him. He'll be on the outside for the next corner, though, Stovall. So if he's got a better run to negate that overlap, otherwise Trevor Hearn's going to come right back at him. But Hearn just slots in behind to fight another day. We've still got 4 laps remaining, and don't forget, we talked about how Daniel Boswell might be out of this race for the lead, but look at him just behind there. He's only 1.5 seconds behind, so if these guys keep this up, he'll be licking his lips to come in for the fight as well. Here he comes, Trevor Hearn, into the hairpin. He's carrying a lot of speed there to get the move done, but slides it in nicely and takes the lead from Jamie Stovall.
If the one thing we learned from the opening race at Okayama, the 286s, despite being the bigger car, do appear to be the best on the brakes. So Stovall, whilst he's got a 2% power, or relative power advantage, as that's what the 86 is carrying in terms of a power deficit, to try and slow them down here. He's clearly got confidence to really haul on the anchors. Stovall, less grip it seems available to him. And I mean, on saying it, you look at the width of the tyres, they're not very wide on the 86, but compared to the MX-5, it looks skinny, but wide at 15. Oh, look at that, though. Boswell, too, going to throw all caution to the track limits as well here. It's up to Panasonic corner. We're coming to 4 laps to go, sorry. And it's going to be awfully close on the clock here, folks, as to whether we get all of those laps in. Bringing it to time once again, it's coming to 8 minutes. They're doing 1 minute 56s currently at the moment, so no, we should be okay. We'll get all 4 laps in, but it's going to be very close to indeed. And here we go. Power goes the way of Stovall, and now this time he's going to try and cut it off. No, only goes halfway across the track, Dean. So, bit of mind games in effect here, and Boswell joins the party to make it 3.
Yeah, I talked about Boswell being too far behind earlier. Here we go, Trevor Hearn down the inside. Can they make it 3 wide into turn 1? Trevor Hearn getting it down on the inside, and Boswell wanted to have a bit of the party as well, but couldn't get his car in there without causing an incident, and they've just switched back. Stovall leading into the corner, but around the outside, so he'll relinquish that back to Trevor Hearn. These guys are going hammer and tong to finish off the race here, so I need to remind them that there's still 3 laps to go. All this hard fighting, you know, you've got to think of risk versus reward. Do you save up some of this action for the final couple of laps? But here comes Boswell lining up and move down the inside potentially, but Stovall still a little bit too quick. But don't get me wrong, we'd love to see this fighting, but if you're someone like Trevor Hearn at the moment, you're just trying to hold on for dear life for 3.5 laps. It's going to be almost impossible with the drafting here. So we're in for a treat to finish off this one. That 987 MX-5 bouncing across the curves, catching a bit of air. We go into the final sector. Final sector of the circuit. Going deep is Trevor Hearn as well. He's really testing out how deep he can put the brakes on that 86. But it's all about this final corner here. As we see Boswell going super wide again. Really, they must have a few track limit violations left up their sleeve, a few incident points, but looks like Trevor Hearn had a great final corner there and gets a good run out of it, and Stovall just right under that rear wing, and Boswell in turn just behind as well. Here he goes, lining him up again. Dan, he's left another big gap down the inside. Maybe he's just going, yep, have it, and I'll jump back in your draft and take it back at the end of the straight.
The back and the forth, as we've seen here. Hearn can get the lead at turn 1, although Boswell to the middle this time. Into the brakes here. We've got 3 laps to go still here, and he's going to force the issue with Stovall as Hearn now clear in the lead on the exit of turn 1. but does the power deficit that's been given to the Toyotas tonight mean that Stovall's got half a chance? He pulls back to the outside. Boswell still seeking a way into this one here as we hit turn 3, but they get line a certain single file, and we come back out the other side, and it's not going to be any worry this time by at the very least. But my word, we are getting all kinds of elbows out here, folks. 2.5 laps to go as they come up towards what's called the hairpin here at Fuji. Although I guess on these modern configurations, the door's open. Is Boswell to the inside? He is. Contact, the door-to-door. Slows up Stovall. Boswell back up to second. But has Trevor Hearn just been given a lifeline in the race lead?
Yep, that's what I was talking about before. It's risk versus reward. Do you risk going for that position or holding on to that position and losing time? As meanwhile, there is battles up and down the grid. It's not just for the lead here. So that is the 74 machine at the tail there of Sean Doyle chasing Tony Baker, Tim Harris and John Merritt. We've seen these 4 cars around the proximity of each other the whole race. We're seeing Doyle looking up the outside. Can he get a move done where the old chicane, well, the chicane normally is, and not quite enough. But these guys are battling hammer and tong for P5 as well. Here he goes down the inside. It does Doyle on Tony Baker. Can he get the move done before the left-hander? Looks like he can. So well done by him, but look at the gap that's left him to Harris and Merritt in front. They've lost quite a bit of time in that little exchange, so that's what you've got to be really careful of. And we see there Tony Baker on the wets starting to maybe be an issue for him. Meanwhile, let's check back in with the leaders. Trevor Hearn out in front of Daniel Boswell with Jamie Stovall leading just behind. Can Boswell set up a huge lunge? They make contact, and I think Hearn had to stop himself from turning in to let Boswell through to avoid contact. I don't think Hearn's going to be too happy about that. He's getting more and more aggressive as the race goes on. And look at that, Stovall right back into it. Coming into the left-hander now. He's going to lose a lot of time there, Boswell. All the way on the outside, he's going to have a slowdown there too. That's going to cost him big time. He's going to lose out to Stovall, I'd imagine. Because, yeah, iRacing's going to give him a penalty for that. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. But he's going to try and go down the inside of Trevor Hearn again. Really testing the braking limits of 86. They evenly match these two guys at the moment. Stovall's got the front row seat at the moment. But if anything goes wrong, he's going to Bradbury his way right through the middle of them.
All right, 1.25 laps to go here, folks, at Fuji. And the real main thing here now is how defensive are you going to be? Hearn is now blocking the inside at most corners, it seems. But Boswell there, for example, can cross him up and get a better apex speed with a more conventional entry to the corners for the time being. Up to turn 15 we come here for the penultimate time. Boswell loose up the inside there, slides a bit, but Stovall too far back to capitalise as we look to get set for the final lap of the race. Who's going to be in front by the time we get to turn 1? Car stopped on the inside, just near pit exit here. Bit of an issue there for the 64 machine of Elliot D by the looks of things, but race lead, here we go. And for the final, penultimate time to the start-finish line. What has Stovall got with the extra power relative to these Toyota D6s tonight? The answer right now is he's not quite there. He's going to have to be much closer, if not in the lead, as we head towards turn number 1 the next time by. But there we go. Start of the final lap. Try and pick up the draft off D there as the leaders go on through. It's Stovall to the lead, but he's on the racing line. Here comes the lunge. Up the inside, Hearn and Boswell both will go back in front.
Yeah, the 86s are out in front once again. Like you said earlier, they're much better on the brakes than the MX-5, but Stovall's not going to go down without a fight, and I feel like Daniel Boswell's going to throw everything but the kitchen sink here at Trevor Hearn on this final lap. Very crucial corner was the final corner of the lap coming onto the start of this one, and it looks like Hearn really got a great exit to nullify the draft, but it's definitely not over now as he moves down the inside. There's contact. Trevor Hearn goes sliding out. Daniel Boswell making contact with the rear quarter panel, and he is very out of control there. Trevor Hearn is going to be ropeable about that. I'm not sure who to put the blame on. We'll have to look at that later. Probably need a replay once the checkered flag flies, but meanwhile, Jamie Stubbold still in contention for the lead. We're coming into the very technical final sector here. A lot of low-speed corners. It's really about how you can get the car turned in and then get the power down, and then leading up to the final corner as we see a slide there from Boswell, bouncing across the curbs. The green MX-5, the Synergy Sim Racing machine of Jamie Stubbold, really trying to stay close. It's all about this final exit here. What can he do? Late on the brakes. He's defending the inside Daniel Boswell. Risky maneuver there because you will open yourself up to a bad exit, and it's going to be a drag race to the line. Here we go. I don't think Stubbold's got the run. He's getting closer, but I really don't think he's got it.
Oh, here we go.
It'll be so close
Stubbold
across
in
the
front.
line. Stubbold's in front. He takes the lead as they cross, but Daniel Boswell goes back, and then Stubbold goes back. The timing's jumping all over the place, but Jamie Stubbold is going to take the win on track. Daniel Boswell losing out by 0.065 seconds in the Frog Leap Juiced 77 machine. The Synergy Sim Racing MX-5 comes out on top, but there is a little asterisk next to that P2 for Daniel Boswell. We'll have to see the contact with Trevor Hearn, who ended up taking that third place on track. But Dennis still battles all the way up and down the pack. P8 and P9, Benjamin Wheeler and Cruz McVie. It's another drag race to the line. Here we go. Cruz McVie out in front for the JTRT Race on Oz. Takes the P8. So it's fighting all the way up and down the grid.
Our last couple of battles here, thought to pick up here to finish off. Michael Cullen, Trevor Mortimer. Unfortunately, that battle falls apart in the final turn. Cullen will hang on there for 13th place, and what might be somewhat of our last battle here, Craig Tilson and Warren Henry, but half a second coming onto the start finish, even with the advantage the MX-5 seems to have with the power down. It looks like that's going to go the way of Tilson here as they make it to the start finish. It is a long drag run here, of course, and that's what I was a little worried about, saying it was all done there in Boswell's favour. We'll have to grab a replay of that one there in a second, Dean, and slow-mo that one up. And it's been a little while since I broadcast from Fuji. Oh, in fact, never mind that. It gets down to, just under 0.4 of a second. The line is back near the pit entry, so that is part of the reason, I guess you could say there, why it ended up the way it was. But how about that there from Jamie Stubbold? A race win in the dying moments of the run to the start finish. Let's get ourselves a final race. Actually, we should say there's a couple of replays we should try and look at, although we're going to have to manually queue up the incident with Boswell and Hearn. We had some issues down the last lap to add insult to injury there. So out of the final corner we come. Try and get an angle for this one here. This one should do us, I believe, and we'll go slow motion as they approach the start-finish line here, Dean.
Yeah, it's so close on the final corner there, and yeah, I think I spoke a bit too soon. Such a great run from Stubbold, and yeah, look at that. If we're talking horse races, he's a head length ahead, but really it's almost a full car length there. And great exit from Stubbold. We did say that the GR86 is better on the brakes, and yeah, look at the exit. So it goes a little bit wide, Boswell, and we did see him take that defensive line on the entry there, which definitely hurt him. But look at the run, just getting closer and closer and closer, and just steaming right past him, almost like it's a different class.
In some respects, yeah, these cars don't usually race together, but check that one off quite nicely indeed. We'll have to jump back manually here and try and get another look at the incident involving Trevor Hearn with Daniel Boswell. So we'll have to queue this up and be a little bit uncoordinated with it here, because I actually don't want to really run us through all of that there. We'll go from here as they exited turn.
On board, be good.
Number 3. Yeah, we'll get up on the roll bar and have a look at that shot in just a moment.
Here we go. So coming into, this is the hairpin. So Boswell trailing Hearn. Yeah, I think Boswell's going to get a little penalty for that one. I don't think he shot the gap but didn't quite get over enough and tagged the quarter panel. Hearn kept that pretty straight. His Castro entry it might have looked like maybe there was a bit of moving on the original feed, but yeah, Hearn's kept that dead straight, braked in a straight line, hasn't really done anything I think that'll get him a penalty, and Boswell's just tagged him. So unfortunately, a racing incident. When you're racing for the win, you've really got to lay it all out there and make sure you don't go home thinking, oh, I could have done better. So as it stands, Stolvold, our race winner in the Fuji Sim Racing 987 MX5. Great race from him. On track, Daniel Boswell, only 0.065 seconds behind him. Drag race to the finish with an asterisk next to his name. Trevor Hearn taking out P3, also with an asterisk with that last incident. 55, Brodie Shepherd taking out P4 with John Merritt, Timothy Harris and Sean Doyle. That little battle pack we had for 5th, finishing very close. Chris McVie also in a drag race with Benjamin Wheeler to the final finish line, and Dan Stevens, we caught some on boards of him earlier, rounding out our top 10.
And over the page, you go to Tony Baker in behind. They're in 11th place tonight. Cam Edwards dropping back 12th place. Unfortunately, a couple of drivers there losing out big time. Biggest gainers, just real quick over tonight. Dan Stevens up 11 spots. John Merritt and Timothy Harris both gaining 10 spots as well to just add to those markers there. Then in behind Cam Edwards, Michael Cullen for 13th place in the Pixel Racer Club number 24 machine. Able to best Trevor Mortimer there to the line tonight. Then a pretty close one there between Craig Tilson and Warren Henry, although the margin in favour of about 4/10 to Tilson there. And then Nathan Verney, 17th in our last car on the lead lap tonight. Peter Wilkinson, Elliot D, Gav Barber finished the race. Looks like Peter Wilkinson, big trouble there for him, means he didn't actually finish the last lap. So that's why he's classified a lap down. He actually wasn't lapped, though, by the leaders during the race. That runs at your top 20 there, Dean, with our last couple of cars being Brendan Nealon and Ira Feldberg, who took to the start and both ended up a lap down. Unfortunately for John Snell, technical issues meant he couldn't make it to the start of the race, so was present in the list, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to race with these guys out here tonight. Well,
yeah,
that's
always a shame with DNS.
Pardon me there to interrupt you there. But yeah,
sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, that's going to end the racing time, and now talk to our post-race interviews. Our drivers should be waiting for us here for a second. I'll leave to you to quickly mention they're unfortunate indeed for drivers to have issues tonight being able to race, unable to race.
So, driver interviews, who do we want first? Third, second, or first? They're all in there.
Yeah, I think we might go 3, 2, 1 tonight, work our way up from Trevor Hearn, and we'll obviously be asking a couple of pointed questions there as to thoughts on the end of the race as we bring him in now. And Trevor, unfortunately for you, a great scrap that maybe went a little bit awry there at the very end of the race. Apart from that, how did it feel being pretty comfortable and strong out there tonight?
Oh yeah, it was a great race. Look, no hard feelings there at the end. We're all here just for a bit of fun at the end of the day. Yeah, after the pit stop, sort of lost the balance in the car a little bit, so I felt a little bit slower after the pit stop, just changing the same side. But yeah, it was a good race overall, nice and aggressive, and plenty of space.
Yeah, varying pitch race tonight. Obviously, the choice to start on wets or dries. Looks like you made the right call there. How dicey was it for the first couple of laps where it maybe was just bordering on that crossover territory where the wet drivers might have had a bit of an advantage compared to those on slicks?
Yeah, I started on slicks and it felt like it had a lot more grip compared to in qualifying. I qualified on wet, but I bottled my quali a little bit and started back in 8th or 9th, but I was up to about 4th by the end of the first lap, and I sort of felt like I had a bit more confidence than the other guys around me. I'd done a little bit of practice at the start on the slicks in the wet conditions as well, just to try and get that feel of it all. Well,
yeah, there, and as you said, came out in the lead of the race, got hunted down thanks to drivers on differing strategies and all that there, and a good result. Hopefully all the same for you, and we'll see what happens with post-race decisions, maybe changing that in your favour slightly there at the end. But 2 races down, we stay in Japan for round number 3 in 2 weeks' time. Off to Motegi, and also, if I so you're right, might be under the lights there as well. And what will the thoughts on that combination be like for you?
Yeah, Motegi's a bit of an uncommon track, so looking forward to it. Really enjoying the series so far, especially with how close the cars are, despite the differences in them. So yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the season.
Oh, good to hear that as always. Floor's all yours, Trevor. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done tonight?
Yeah, thanks for SimSpeed for the broadcast and Ozicar as well. Yeah, just really enjoying the season so far, and yeah, bring on the rest of the season.
Well, there we are. Thank you very much. Trevor Hearn, 3rd place across the line here tonight at Fuji International Speedway. And with that, Dean, I'll hand to you, and you can chat to the man who comes home 2nd across the line here with Daniel Boswell.
Daniel, great result, mate. Well done. Wasn't without a little bit of a hairy moment towards the end there. Talk us through the last few laps where you were catching up to the group in front. Obviously, you were out in the net lead, but a longer pit stop dropped you back a little bit. What was going on as you were catching up to the guys in front? Was it just raw pace, or did you feel like there was a tyre difference when you were trying to get back up there? Talk us through that.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen, for having me. Yeah, it was definitely a mental process of what did I do wrong in the pit box to end up with a 20-second pit stop. So I was battling that mentality the whole way through. I knew I had the pace to catch them. Obviously ended up as a bit of a naughty boy in the end, taking out Trev. And my apologies to him, and I expect some repercussions from that. But it was great racing, and I was just focused to try and get back on the top spot. But that MX-5 is way too quick on the straights.
Yeah, we did notice that the MX-5 was quick in a straight line, but the 86s seem to be better on the brakes. But I would be very surprised if the racing was any softer than what we saw in the last few laps. So it gave us a great spectacle to call. What about the race start? You stuck it on pole, but dropped back a fair ways in the opening couple laps, but managed to claw your way back. Was it just a bad launch, or what sort of happened at the start there?
Yeah, bad launch, nerves, still contemplating the idea, was wets or tries to write the right call. All those thoughts were running through my mind, and that probably didn't equate to a good race start. But yeah, I was happy once I got onto that opening straight and I could just pull ahead of those two cars and into turn one there. It gave me a bit of confidence going forward.
Fantastic stuff. And obviously only second round. I think third round we're going to Twin Ring Motegi. Oh, I think it's got a different name now, but we'll call it Motegi. Thoughts on that circuit? You done much racing there?
Not at all. So it's going to be something I'm going to have to invest in and invest a bit of time in. So yeah, looking forward to the next round. And yeah, it's a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's a toughie, Motegi. And before we let you go, mate, new team this week in the Frog Leap Juiced entry. Welcome to the fold, mate. Anyone you want to thank before you log off tonight?
Yeah, it's been awesome to be part of the new team. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Juiced Energy, Racecraft, Subspec Gloves, and Stot.OR. So thanks, guys.
Awesome, mate. Great result. Obviously, we'll probably see you get a little slap on the wrist, but we'll probably won't see you drop any further than P3. So well done, mate, and good luck next round.
Appreciate that. Thanks, boys.
All right, that was Daniel Boswell, and we'll finish it off with our race winner. Dan is with Jamie Stovall.
Thanks, Dean, and well done once again, Jamie, there. The drag race certainly worked out in your favour. We haven't talked about it with the other drivers. We're obviously trying a bit of balanced performance effort to try and make it so that the cars were fairly even. How did that sort of feel to you? Obviously, looked like you were in the favourable recipient here tonight with the Mazda.
It was obviously a lot closer than Okayama. I got a bit swamped there in the old MX-5. Like even pushing as hard as I can and being careful with tyres, it still wasn't enough then. But I think it was a lot closer here. I don't know if it was just the track or the weather or the tyre strategy, but you know, obviously the racing at the end there showed that the cars were a lot closer. So I think it's pretty good how they are.
Yeah, it certainly balanced out fairly well at the end of the day. And by the looks of things as well, like you had a straight line advantage, sure, but Trevor and Daniel there in those Toyotas look like they had confidence to try and really go after you there under brakes at the end of the start finish straight. So at the end of the day, the Bob it looked like it was in a fairly good place.
Yeah, the MX-5 was definitely a lot faster on the straights, but then they could sort of smash the curbs and send it in a lot harder than I could. But it's interesting, in practice I think I was a good like second and a half off, and I was trying wet and dry tyres, but you know the front guys were destroying me, so you know I guess it's weather dependent. Like at the time I felt like the BOP wasn't that great, but obviously in the race with everything playing out how it did, it seemed to be pretty close.
Yeah, well, that's 2 rounds down, and as you said, a good uptick here for you this week. But next time out, we'll be staying here in Japan and heading off to Motegi. And what's the thoughts there going into that combination 2 weeks away?
I'm pretty sure that will probably lean more towards the 8.6s. actually there's a few like okay size straights, but yeah, I'm just gonna stick with the MX-5 and see sort of what happens. So yeah, let's hope that it sort of works out for the car on that track.
Well, fingers crossed there indeed, because it's made a great fight there watching Mazda versus Toyota here up the pointy end of the field. Floor's all yours to wrap things up here. Jamie, who do you want to thank for helping you get it done here tonight?
Obviously, a huge thanks to the team, Synergy Sim Racing. Thank you to all our sponsors and IRA for putting on such a great series. All the competitors. It's hard to sort of find a series where you can race door to door like that at the end. So that's sort of what we will do it for. And thank you for you guys for putting on such an awesome broadcast.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Glad to be here watching all the action unfold, and well done once again here tonight.
So, thanks a lot, guys.
Well, that's going to do us for coverage from tonight here, Dean. And as I was mentioning, a couple of drivers there. 2 weeks' time, the racing will resume, but we'll be off to Mobility Resort Motegi, and it will be sunset into night conditions, is what is promised to us, apparently, via race director and administrator Ira Feldberg. We do have to wrap up here pretty quickly, though, Dean. So, quick thoughts from you on what we might be looking forward to seeing next time out here at Motegi.
Yeah, Motegi's one of those circuits. I think one of the guys mentioned it doesn't get a lot of love in terms of popularity, but I think it provides such a great racing experience, and under lights be even cooler. Main straight's all lit up, but everywhere else is almost completely dark, so that'll add a whole nother challenge to the fold.
And if you want some more sim racing broadcasting, we're not done here tonight on SimSpeed TV. You can join... You can join Jake Sperry, Brady Baldwin, and Jay Kennedy over in just a couple of seconds on SimSpeed's channels, or the iRacing channels for the Week 5 Strength of Field race at Circuit Nevers Magny Court for the iRacing Supercar Series on Australian service. So with that, folks, thank you all very much for watching us here at Ozicar tonight. Once again, a final shout out to Warren Henry's wife, Julie, and commiserations to and condolences to his family for her passing. To Ira at Ozicar, along with Locked On Lads, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and the No Social Hate campaign. Thank you to all those for supporting the Ozicar Tin Top Cup here for season number 9. Thank you all for watching, folks. My name's been Daniel Yeaman. It's Dean Hunt alongside me here tonight on the broadcast. Hope to see you back in 2 weeks' time for more racing at Motegi.